Our own Charlie Gasparino, who saw a lot of this coming. John Kelly, though, I don't think many people saw John Kelly coming. He is a great American. There's no two ways about it, Charlie. Marine general. Of course, he lost a son during the conflict. I believe it was Iraq or Afghanistan. So this guy is a serious guy in the White House. It's not like he's a political operative.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. I mean, we reported earlier today that Reince was out. We were getting word from Washington, my source in Washington, that it was just a matter of time. People thought maybe it would be staved off only because you know, he was on the plane apparently with Trump today with Anthony Scaramucci, his internal nemesis. So maybe they thought, you know, how would he be fired after that? You know, why would you humiliate him, putting him on a plane with Anthony, the guy who hates him, obviously, and then fire him? So people thought it wouldn't be today. But we were here, you know, all morning that he was done. I will say this: this is a very serious guy, in a different way that Reince is. Reince is a serious guy. Randy RNC, Reince, whatever. Okay, Reince as in I get it. But anyway, my point is, Reince is a serious guy for politics. This guy is a serious guy in a different way, in a military way. And you know, listen, great American, we get that. It only matters who you have in that job if the person is empowered and if the guy at the top listens to you. Now, clearly, Reince was not empowered. He was the chief of staff in name only. There were many people that were reporting directly to Donald Trump, including someone like Scaramucci, who nominally the head of communications would have been reporting to the chief of staff. So we'll see how this. It'll be interesting to see if there's that goes along with this, whether there is like at the same time whether there's a restructuring of the management.
Well, Charlie, the only person with an equal amount of gravitas, I think, is Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State. But there's nobody in the White House that has the gravitas that John Kelly does.
That doesn't matter.
Hold on a second. Melissa has another.
Charlie, I wanted to ask you real quick about there was a little gossipy stuff on page 6 about Scaramucci as well.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't want to talk about the guy's marriage, and I'll tell you why. Marriages are inherently difficult. There, but for the grace of God, go I. And you know, I think that's off limits to us. But I will say this: when it comes down to it, you know, you can't have a White House where you have 10 chiefs of staff. You know, in a sense, Anthony Scaramucci has been freelancing as a chief of staff the last couple of days since he became head of director of communications, and think that things are going to run smoothly. And this will only work if he empowers Mr. Kelly.
Okay, let me read the second part of the tweet from the president. Great leader. John has also done a spectacular job at Homeland Security. He has been a true star of my administration. Is Blake Burman with us? Maybe? Yes?
Sure, hi.
Hey, Blake. So, I mean, putting a general in as your chief of staff, that seems about right with this group. You might need a general to straighten things out at this point.
And the one thing that we've always heard President Trump say is he uses the phrase, my generals. He has high respect for generals, and now he institutes a former top member of the military who was the head of his Department of Homeland Security now as his White House chief of staff. Here's what I'll add to this conversation briefly, Melissa. Was speaking to a source, not yesterday, probably 2 or 3 days ago, close to the president, a source close to the president, as all of this healthcare stuff was going on. And I asked, well, what about Reince? And this person had told me that if healthcare were to fail, there was probably a major shakeup coming.
Oh, interesting.
And now we have that shakeup. You had everything publicly already out there about Reince Priebus, and we don't need to go into the full screens and the comments and all that. You know what it says.
Not again. I think we're good.
Exactly. And now comes this. Friday afternoon at about 4:45 via Twitter from the president heading into this weekend, saying he's got a new chief of staff, and what is left up in the air are the mechanics of how all of this went down. Remember, Reince Priebus was on the plane on Air Force One today.
Let me just interrupt for a second, because we're looking at a picture. You maybe can't see it on your screen, but that is Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews. Is Reince Priebus still on that plane or not?
Great question. We know that Reince Priebus was on the plane going there. Is he on the plane coming back? That I am not entirely.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to see. By the way, I said earlier that General Kelly's son died in Iraq. It was actually Afghanistan. This was in 2010. He stepped on a landmine. He was a first lieutenant. Robert Kelly was his name. God bless his soul, because he stepped on a landmine in Afghanistan, died. This might give a hesitation on the part of at least a key advisor of the president to get involved in actions overseas that might be deadly to our troops, no?
And you also have the reporting widespread at this point that, you know, Rex Tillerson might be having second doubts, that there might be some consternation as it relates to H.R. McMaster. Clearly, the president thinks highly of John Kelly to bring him in as the White House chief of staff, but that now opens up another position, another high-profile position that needs to be filled, and that is now the DHS leader.
Blake, I mean, is that real about Rex Tillerson? That would be so distressing.
Everyone over at the State Department says that the secretary is going forward and that he's happy, but something along.
What